Give me a sec. Ah, fuck. I should probably just... Let me just link it. I was too busy. I was editing the title when I shouldn't have done that. Took a little bit long there. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. Female loneliness.
Are supposed to be
My
easy
Discord,
for
not
you.
yours.
How does that make you feel when they're hard? A perspective on female loneliness. Oh, I guess you guys can't see this corner, but that's okay. I wasn't sure if I should post my experience since it's deeply personal, but I've seen similar posts by other women here and decided to just go for it. I'm a 29-year-old woman who is above average looking. I've been hit on a lot in life and get uncomfortable amounts of attention I never asked for. However, I've suffered from social anxiety since I've been a child because of...
So these statements, I'm gonna stop right here just because I want to kind of address something. I think statements like this can be genuine from women, and I think they're made a lot by women. Uncomfortable amounts of attention I never asked for, right? I think men can read this and then interpret that, and it can factor into why men don't want to approach women. I know for a fact it is statements exactly like this is the reason I will I don't DM women online, especially if they're like in a video game Discord or something. This is the reason why, is because endless amounts of women have talked about how much attention, uncomfortable attention that they get, that they never, I never asked for all these DMs of guys like trying to, talk to me or whatever, or hit on me. And so this is why I'm not going to DM a woman. It's just not something I'm going to do in a romantic capacity. Of course, I'll DM women in a professional capacity. Of course, don't know why not. In a friendly capacity, of course. But I'm never going to slide into DMs, or at least that was the philosophy that I've been running with for my entire time on the internet, is because of this statement. And I can see an issue, and there was an issue with me growing up where I saw this and I was like, oh, okay, so women don't want to be approached like IRL anymore. It's because they talk about quite incessantly how much attention they get IRL, and it's like, oh, okay, so I don't want to contribute to the problem. I don't want to, so I'm just not going to do it. I'm not sure how many guys view it that way as well, or if they just, well, I mean, I'm not a part of the problem. So I don't know, but I know I have, and it's completely, I'm not going to, I can't do it. Hey, just want to make sure you start the YouTube stream off on a good note. Can you define confidence for us? Nice meme. Did you see the study that Destiny retweeted on the Omni Liberal account? No, what does it show?
Trauma, abuse, and bullying. I was painfully shy until my mid-20s and would hardly speak to anyone. I have no contact with my family because they abused me. I never had a social circle. I've never been in a long-term relationship. I only have two, quote, friends who also suffer from mental illness. They don't know the extent of my issues, though, and they both live very far away.
So, wait, could we not go back to this? I've been hit on a lot of my life. Why not? Why didn't you change those into relationships? Because they said, and get uncomfortable amounts of attention I never asked for. If those are uncomfortable amounts of attention, then, well, the problem is the word uncomfortable amounts of attention. So is the problem the amounts? I'm assuming it isn't. I'm assuming that the problem is the kind of attention. And if it is amounts, like I said, again, young me reading this, okay, women are getting an uncomfortable amount of attention. That means it's too frequent. I'm not going to give them attention. I'm just going to hope that a woman talks to me, which like never happens, but let's just hope that happens. That's the way that I read it. But I'm assuming what they mean is the kind of attention they're getting is uncomfortable, I'm assuming. But if it is just a large amount, like, why not turn those into relationships?
I spend every day isolated from the rest of the world in my room and hardly get sleep at night because of my insomnia. Out there, I study, and nobody could ever guess I'm living this way. My social anxiety has gotten better to the point that I can fake it, but I am entirely inaccessible as a person. When people talk to me, I listen and reply, but I never talk about my own life. Sometimes I lie when I have to. People often say women can't be lonely, yet I've never been in love and simply can't form deep connections with others.
Why not?
The only relationship I had lasted about 6 months, and the guy had zero interest in knowing me as a person. When I ended things, he openly admitted that he only dated me for my looks.
Damn.
I struggled to act normal and tried being in a relationship like everyone else for 6 painful months, and he had no idea who I even was. I have accepted that I can never be in love despite my painful craving to love someone and truly be loved.
Why?
My sex drive is high, but I never act on it because I despise the idea of casual sex.
Okay, so this is one thing that they themselves have made a barrier for themselves as. I'm trying to establish how much of this they have done to themselves. So like, for instance, somebody like me, right? When I talk about like my ideal partner being a very, very modern woman, and ways that I could look for a very modern woman, I'm recognizing that I'm cutting off avenues for something that I may want and the consequences that come as a result, right? When I cut off an avenue of women that want me to take up a traditional role, I recognize I'm slicing up, my dating pool, and I'm, I accept the consequences, essentially. If I do not find somebody, I'm not going to be like, what happened? So I'm doing that. So I want to establish how many things this person is doing consciously and intentionally to themselves, and how many of the things like the social anxiety are things that they might need to work on, and that it's not something they're consciously doing to themselves. It's more of like a kind of unfortunate circumstance that they have to work through.
Some would say, but you could have sex anytime you want to.
Sure.
Yes, I could. But it wouldn't mean anything. It wouldn't fix my loneliness.
See, here's something that I really disagree with vehemently. Going from both sides of the spectrum kind of on this. I think people take that for granted a lot. Obviously, it's going to be different between men and women, so I'm just going to talk, but I still do believe it matters even for women, because I've talked to women who, by and large, like, are the few who may not be able to get sex whenever they want, and it is a life-changing experience to go from that to someone who can get it whenever they want but doesn't necessarily want it. The difference between being a volcel, voluntarily celibate, and an incel is a radically different life. A life in which you are actively rejected by everyone around you, even being seen as a sex object, you are rejected, is a radically different feeling walking through life than somebody who actively goes, I could get this, but I'm choosing not to. There's a night and day difference. Night and day difference. My Discord, not yours.
It would just
But yeah.
make it worse to know that my looks are my only value. I already zoned out of the real world mentally. Outside of studying, I only live in my daydreams and stories I write. My room is filled with merchandise of fictional characters. I talk to them. Act like they would be the supportive friends I never had. I've been, quote unquote, in love with a fictional character for almost 15 years. That's the closest feeling I ever felt to loving someone. He's pretty much the reason I'm not killing myself. I even lack the ability to connect with people online. I'm not part of any community or group. I don't have social media or play online games. It's almost like I don't even exist.
I know that feeling. Not about not playing video games, but...
I'm not posting this to get advice or pity. I just wanted to share my story somewhere for once. I've long accepted that this will be my life forever. What I'm trying to say is, being an attractive woman doesn't magically turn life into easy mode. Women are people too, and you never know what they are hiding just by...
So here's going to be the issue. I can already see the issue from Incel's point of view, or maybe even some men pretty broadly, it seems like this person has a unique circumstance that prevents them, several unique circumstances that prevent them from being like lonely, independent of their attractiveness. So as long as the statement would essentially be, well, first of all, why aren't you pursuing these relationships with the multiple people that are hitting on you? Maybe they'll get to it in the next paragraph and a half. But why aren't you pursuing these relationships that people are clearly want to have with you? One. Two, why do you think that you will never find love if multiple people are hitting on you? And three, you've already described your lived experience as being massively divorced from so many different people. Yeah. Meaning that I think their feeling of loneliness is pretty relatable for a lot of people. Their feeling of maybe not, like that they will never find love, is pretty relatable to a lot of people. However, what is not pretty relatable, especially to men, is that they're getting a crazy amount, like an uncomfortable amount, a lot of attention. And so it's like, why not pursue those? Let's keep watching. Stand by.
By looking at them. Finding casual sex or even a random relationship with no depth
Hey, Ryan.
would be easy
Thank
for
you.
me, but it's not worth shit when you want nothing more than a genuine human connection. Update, I didn't expect to receive so many comments, support, or DMs over this post. I never thought so many people could actually relate to it. Thank you for that. I can't reply to everything now because it's a bit overwhelming, but I'm reading everything. So, first thing that I want to say is this person says, I've never been part of a community. And I just want to say, and I hope that, I think they've already figured this out, so I'm late to the party here. If you've never been part of a community, you're welcome here.
Don't incels feel similarly? Like they don't just want sex. They could go to a prostitute, but that's not what they want. Prostitution is massively different than somebody willingly engaging in sex with you. Obviously, again, for the dynamics between men and women, it is different. But I can tell you, literally, as somebody that's been fetishized and somebody who has felt rejected by women, I would 1,000,000,000% take being fetishized over being completely ignored by women. 100%. Even being seen as a sex object is superior to being not seen at all. 1,000,000%. And after talking to women who have felt invisible and then become visible only as a sex object, it's 100%. They seem to agree. But like being visible at all is a superior lived experience to being completely invisible. Because it's a completely different experience. It's a different experience to be visible at all. To be completely invisible was terrible growing up. Now I don't really care that much. So I should clarify. Now I don't really care that much. I wouldn't really care too much either way because I don't really value sex as much as I did as a kid. Like I was like, whoa, this shit seems super cool. And I was like, actually, this shit is kind of lame. So now not so much, but in the past, oh yeah. There was, 6-7 years of my life, I felt completely invisible by women. And then even when I got attention from women, even as a sex object, it felt considerably better. Now, would I probably get used to it and it wouldn't feel as good over a period of time? Yeah, but a different lived experience is a different lived experience. Cope, sex is far from lame. Okay. You can't be seen as a sex object. You can only be a sex object. What? Like a child acting out, they rather be getting in trouble than being ignored. Exactly. Crazy tactics. I think that's a good example. I as a kid, I'd rather be, getting in trouble and getting attention than being ignored growing up. And I think there are people that operate this way. The problem is that the girl hasn't experienced being ignored and not wanted, so she can't see the upside to being pursued, even though it has downsides too. Of course. And I'm not trying to say every single person that pursues this woman is viewing her as a sex object. What I'm saying is the feeling of other people being able to see you is, especially for young people, oh my God. it's necessary. I would dare say it is necessary for you to feel as though you are seen by other people as somebody that may be valid to be in a relationship. It is necessary for your health, mental health, in my opinion. Like, to feel completely ignored and like no woman, no matter what, they do not see you as an option. That life was a living hell. Growing up and trying to avoid mental health issues that come with that. But yeah, it's good that I could rely on like my friendships and my family or whatever, and shit worked out for me. The discourse surrounding the female loneliness is the same as male privilege discourse. Why discount someone's miserable experience because other people of the class gender have it good? Are you saying that I am discounting this woman's experience because I am communicating that men have it worse? I don't understand. Are you trying to say that about me? I agree with that, being seen as amazing. Yeah, and what I'm saying is that being seen, even as a sex object, is still being seen. And many people, especially young people, will prefer that to being completely invisible. That's what I'm saying. This woman is going to have a hell of a hard time dealing with rejection for the first time at 29. Geez. Yeah. She sounds like she's in a similar point where if she wants to turn her life around, that's going to be hard pressed because she's probably not going to have the social skills to be able to turn it around. Unless you have intense trauma, which seems like her issue, she doesn't want to be seen. Well, she never gave a reason why she didn't pursue those people who were hitting on her. You sound like the people who say that men can't complain because of the patriarchy. It's the same argument. Me? I never said this woman can't complain. When did I say this woman can't complain? My biggest critique of this woman is why the hell she's not pursuing the men who are hitting on her. Just now? Okay, if I did, it was an accident.
That's the first thing. Now, I was tempted to say, well, you're a part of this one. Well,
you said the words, this woman can't complain, and I'm going to ignore everything else in the sentence. Oh.
That's your choice.
You don't pursue every woman you engage with? Me? Wait, but that's different. She is stating that men are hitting on her. That's not engaging with them, that's hitting on them. And pretty much every woman that has hit on me, I've engaged with. At least IRL. But I will say I'm pretty unique in that way because it seems like my standards are apparently pretty low. I don't really care the way that somebody looks or sounds. I can, generally speaking, I find that, again, 95% of the women my age, I could date or like. So pretty much everyone that has ever shown me any kind of flirtatious attention, which has been 2 women? 3? No. That's not true because I'm forgetting the people in middle school. 4. I think 4. 4 women have shown me flirtatious attention. No, not in middle school. I didn't reciprocate because I didn't perceive it. But in high school, I didn't perceive it. Like 4 or 5, I don't remember.
Not for me to say that you are a part of this community or
you're talking about how men have it worse. It's like saying you can't be hungry because the kid's starving in Africa. I never said the men have it worse. You're assuming I said the men have it worse. The issue is that people just assume that what I say, and I think it's a different problem. Anybody who's listened to me knows I consider these different problems. These are different steps on different tiers. Let's talk about men, right? Men, by and large, don't have this problem where if a woman is interested in me, chances are she's not interested in me only sexually. She's going to be interested in me probably to a degree to where we could go on a date. Maybe we could be in a relationship. Men don't have this problem. These are different problems with different things. When I was talking about the preference that people have for one lived experience than another, saying that because people by and large prefer one state of being to another doesn't mean that it is the case. In fact, I followed that up and I said, I myself do not currently like being fetishized in comparison to being invisible, because right now, as I currently stand, I have more self-esteem, I have more confidence, and now I don't care about necessarily being seen in that way. If I want to be seen, I want to be seen like as a person, as a whole entity. But growing up, and I think a lot of people experience this, hence why I said a lot of people I've talked to, or sorry, not a lot of people, a woman I talked to growing up had the same experience where it was like, yeah, I preferred being seen at the very least as like a sex object to not being seen at all growing up. Right now, I do not have that. Personally, I don't know if they do, but I don't have that personally, and that's because I don't really care that much about being seen that way.
Aren't a part of this community. What I can say is that you're welcome here.
Do you practice cold approaching? Sometimes, yeah. I mean, most of my friends, though, don't cold approach and they have normal relationships. I don't know how, but yeah.
I don't know if that kind of makes sense, but it's arrogant for me to assume that this person feels like this is their community, right? If this person doesn't feel like this is their community, like that's them. You know, they're entitled to that. So what I will say is that you're welcome here, and if you'd like to join, I think it's fair to say we'd love to have you. That's what we're going to start with. But I think this post is really, really important because it tackles or addresses a lot of what
not wanting to be seen is a privilege. If you never felt seen, you would be desperate for it, even after your character evolution of supposedly not caring anymore. I can recognize that's probably the case. But I can also say that it's not necessary. I don't think it's necessary for that to be the case. Well, this is what I said earlier. It is a lot easier for people to be voluntarily celibate, like a volcel, than it is to be an incel. For me to go, I don't want to date, I don't want a girlfriend even for the rest of my life. Let's assume that I am that person, right? I don't want a girlfriend, I don't want to date for the rest of my life. To be that person is easier than it is to be the person who gets no attention at all. I would say by and large, it's easier to be that person for most people. But when we're talking about being a sex object, I think that's when it's like a, guess I would say preference. Preference sounds like the wrong word. It's like user to user. It's person to person. There's going to be some people that truly do prefer to be invisible, to being seen as a sex object, people like me. Then there would be that. Mainly just, I would like to be invisible in comparison to a sex object, just for the usable information, like the data. Because if a woman hits on me right now, I know to some degree, she'd be willing to go on a date with me, maybe see me as a romantic partner, right? But like if I was seen also as a sex object, that data is not super usable. That point of reference. She hit on me, but maybe she doesn't view me as like actually a cool person. Maybe she only wants to fuck me. I don't know. And it's not super usable. You know what is super usable though? The like button. Should put a like on the fucking video. Huh? You only got 22 of you liking the video. A couple of more of you should be able to like the video if you got some spare change as well. You know, donating to the chat, super chats. What is it? Sticker feature, the super sticker feature. Still have no idea what the fuck that is. Or memberships are all available if you got some spare change hanging around. Huh? Come on, that one was a decent plug for likes. You gotta like the video on that one. That's a decent one. I don't agree that being in this situation is easier than an incel. I really think it's a bad idea to compare two really hard and miserable experiences like oppression Olympics. I didn't say this situation. I don't think it's wrong to compare two miserable situations. I do agree that oppression Olympics is rather counterproductive, but like I said, I wasn't comparing this woman's situation, but yeah. Well, actually, I did earlier. I believe I did earlier, but not in this statement. I did earlier talk about the differences between them and why one person might prefer one or the other, if that's what you mean by compare, but I never said one was worse than the other. What I said was one reality, which I completely agree with, is worse than another, is being invisible is objectively worse than being somebody who is visible but choosing to not date. Both people aren't dating, but one is forced into that lived experience and the other one is choosing to. One is just patently better than the other. Objective? Absolute. Bro, if there is any objectivity, there is no way you are going to tell me that somebody would prefer to be completely invisible to somebody who can just choose to not be in a relationship. I refuse to believe. That's pure cope. You don't know what it's like to be invisible then. 100%. Being invisible is not by anybody, unless, okay, you might have a like genuine like mental illness that prevents you from like dealing with people viewing you as an option, as like a bad thing, but we're talking about like sub 0.1% of the population. Like if somebody views you as a viable dating option, you like have a panic attack, go into cardiac arrest and die. Maybe then you would be that one person on earth, but every single person on earth would prefer to have the option just in case they change their mind, just in case things change. Life happens. Maybe you find somebody that is actually cool to you. Everybody would prefer to have the option and not exercise it than to just never have the option at all. 100%. Can you not imagine somebody who was violent and trauma and you would want to be invisible from other people? From all other people? No. No, and of those people, I think there's very little people that fit into that category. No.
Sometimes lose sight of. So, a lot of people out there think that
it's literally what she described. No, it isn't. She described having trauma, but she never described that having trauma made her want to not pursue any relationship. She just didn't think that she was going to get a positive relationship.
Translates into, equates having friends, having lovers, having boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever. They think that
I used to fit into it. It's not that's the key word, used to. Now you don't, right? That's the point, is would you shut off doors for your entire life or leave the doors open and then they're usable if you want them? Like most people, let me put it this way, rational. If you're being irrational, you would leave the doors open. She said she even cut herself off from her family. Cutting herself off from her family just means that she might not have a good relationship with her family.
Being physically attractive is a miracle drug, is a panacea.
No, I'm not saying would you have shut off all doors in that moment of your life, because technically speaking, pretty much everyone at one point in their life has gone through such an experience. If I find somebody at the lowest of lows, I mean, you could probably find most people saying, yeah, you know, it's a coin flip whether or not I should kill myself. Like, you finding people at their lowest of lows is whatever. I'm talking about over a prolonged period of time. Would somebody do this? Not in their like worst moment, not when they're going through their worst shit. I'm talking about, would somebody prefer this life? Huh? This entire life. Not like you're signing a deal with the devil and he gets you at your lowest low and then you're like, oh yeah, I took advantage of me by signing this contract when I was fucking depressed. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, would you choose to live this life as a sustained pattern or sustained existence? And the answer is no. Most people would not do this. And most people will get to the point where they realize, oh fuck, I made a mistake, if they did.
For fixing all of the problems in life. And the truth of the matter,
it seems super dismissive to say it's worse to be invisible when listening to this. I'm not talking about this woman. I don't know how many times I have to say this. I'm not talking about this woman. How many, Jesus Christ, listen with your fucking ears. I swear to God, I'm a minute away. I'm just a fucking second away from saying this is misogynistic bullshit and you're just infantilizing women so you can protect them because they have to be protected from whatever shit. I'm not attacking her. I'm not saying anything about her. I'm saying a separate instance. I am talking about the lived experience of being able to have a relationship at all, not being seen as a sexual object. The way that she has described it is being seen as a sexual object. She said it about that relationship. She said it about the other people with the uncomfortable amounts of attention. I am not saying that about her experience. I am saying that about it being invisible versus being somebody who is actively choosing to not pursue a relationship. There are two different people here, right? And neither of them are her. It is between some person that is incapable of receiving any attention from men or women or anybody in any romantic fashion, and then somebody who just simply doesn't want to date. That's it. Somebody who just doesn't want to date. I think it is better to be the person who doesn't want to date, who, for whatever reason, doesn't want attention, but can still get it, than it is to be somebody that gets no attention whatsoever. Especially as a young kid.
Is that it isn't. And this is what's sometimes so hard for other people to understand, because if we live in a society where being pretty means...
Would you say she exists in the invisible category? Absolutely not. No, she's visible. She's just visible to, at least, I'm assuming what she said was only to weird guys. She didn't explain whether or not she thought every single guy that was hitting on her had ill intention. It seemed like she just didn't want to try anymore. She never really explained why she wasn't pursuing people anymore.
Life is easy. What do you say if you are pretty and your life isn't easy? Right? How do you get people to understand? Because everyone kind of looks at you and says, like, you're pretty, like, what are you complaining about? You could get laid anytime you want to. Of course you could have a relationship. And there may be people out there that would say, I would love to date you, right? I want to see
I can almost guarantee she probably got DMs saying, I want to date you.
you as a person. You know, like, I don't get it. Everyone out there is craving something that if you're attractive or you're a woman or whatever, right? If you've got some kind of advantage, everyone out there is craving something and you're craving it too. The challenge is that paradoxically, the advantage that everyone thinks will make your life easy can sometimes actually make your life difficult. And that's something that it's very hard to explain to people who are not in a frame of mind to listen to what your challenges are, because you have something that they don't have.
I wouldn't say it's just because you have something that they don't have. It's that you have something that by and large makes most people's lives considerably easier, but that doesn't mean as an individual it will make your life easier. So for instance, money. I think a good example of this is money. There are many people who get born into wealth who don't live a easier or better life as a result of being born into wealth in comparison to even somebody who was born into poverty. And the reason why is because, you know, some of these people might not have fulfilling friendships or love lives or whatever, because there's a bunch of people that just use them for their money and they constantly can't trust anybody. And so they have, you know, trust issues and problems that come down the line because they have no real friends. Huh? But for the most part, we view just about everybody who has money as having a superior life to people who don't have money. So of course it happens.
Right. I don't know if that sentence was too complex, so I'll try to say it again. But like,
are you able of debating the words you utter with me sometime? What words have I uttered with you?
Sometimes. So let's try to understand a little bit, right? So I'm going to generalize here, which is the first mistake, but like what it's like to be like an attractive human being, especially a woman. This isn't just about women, by the way. So when you do enter into a relationship, sometimes what people will do if you're attractive is they'll just see the physical attractiveness, right? That's what they're interested in. And this person has even had an experience where someone dated them for 6 months because of the way that they looked. And so it's kind of weird, and we may sort of say that, okay, physical attractiveness makes it easy for you to get into relationships, and that may be true, but my point is that that's not sufficient to deal with the crushing loneliness that you feel. And in fact, sometimes it can even reinforce it. Because why is this person in a relationship? It's not because of me. It's because of the way that I look. Right? I'm one accident away of having no value. Because if I get into a car accident, or if I trip and fall and I get a scar on my face, or I break my nose or something like that, then I have no value at all. So the really challenging thing sometimes about people who are attractive is that their value starts to become based on their attraction.
Sure.
Because society as a whole
thinks,
thinks,
you call someone a coward for refusing to pick up a microphone? What does that have to do with you?
This has so many advantages, like this is your worth. And that's actually like their experience. And so I want y'all to think about this a little bit. Because if you're an attractive woman and you get a job, what do people attribute your success to? Or you being hired to? If you get promoted, what do they attribute your success to? Now, this is kind of tricky, right? Because
if I call you out and you refuse, are you a coward? Depends on what it is, yeah.
Most people will actually attribute it to your value as a person, to your work ethic. Let's be fair. The challenge is that some people don't. Right? Some people will say like, oh, she just got the job because she's hot.
How is your personality different than your looks? Because your personality is what makes your character, and your character should be what people look for in whether or not they love you, right? Like at the end of the day, right? I agree with the idea that physical looks play a large part in any relationship. Like, you're probably going to need to be attracted to the person you're in a relationship with. But at the end of the day, the thing that matters probably considerably more is your character. So your personality is more needed there. Yeah. Okay, cool. I'll tag you in a video challenge. Look forward to it. About what? And you'll tag me on what? I'm not on like Facebook. What do you mean tag me? I want to debate him open mic live on what? This is the weirdest way I've gotten invited to debate something. You'll see. Okay, man. That's the... I don't know. I just don't know why you're going about this in the weirdest way possible. You could have just DM'd me and been like, hey, look, I want to debate you on something. No idea why you're going about this in the... This is not standard protocol.
Or she got promoted because she's...
I can tag you on YouTube, bro. I don't know how to check that. I don't check that. You should see his videos on Shud. Okay. I don't do DMs. Okay, man. Good luck.
With the boss.
This dude was threatening to dox you on Twitter? Wait, really? Hold up. Right to reply, is this true? You were threatening to dox me on Twitter? Is this true? Can you link me what you're talking about, ERBY? Do you have that link for me? Cultivate an arc villain. Someone needs attention. Busted. All right, we'll wait to see if he gets me the link to that.
And they kind of...
Wait, hold up. Right to reply. Did you try and dox me on Twitter? Is that what's happening? You said you're not a coward. You would admit it to me, right? Are you allowed to hide your business details in your country? Yeah. Otherwise, it's doxing. Oh. Like, you understand there's private info. You're not allowed in my country, bro? Okay, so you admit that you are trying to dox me. Is that what's happening? You're admitting that you're trying to dox me? England? Don't care what country you're from, bro. Okay. You banned me from your Discord servers for no good reason? Nigga, I didn't even know you were in my Discord. I don't know really who you are. But, okay, I will ban you from here, though. Good luck. I don't accept that kind of behavior.
Make these kind of comments and they make these kind of jokes. We're not saying that the majority of people are like this.
I don't know. I guess a guy is trying to dox me because I banned him from the Discord I didn't even know he was in, because my mods banned him from the Discord. But yeah, I have no idea why he would think that would be an appropriate response. So he's a serious schizo. I wouldn't fuck with him for too long. I'm just banning him. We're moving on. Doesn't really matter.
So then why do we even bring it up? If the majority of people aren't like this, like, why does it matter, right? Like, if like 98 to 95% of people don't say things like this, what difference does it make? Why are we focusing on the 2%? So let me ask y'all a question. How many...
I'm not going to get in Discord with somebody that's trying to ban or trying to dox me. A Discord or ban is used for disagreements, not schizos literally trying to dox another person. That's completely inappropriate and out of line. I couldn't find the tweet again, but he was tweeting like a week ago asking for your full name and address. Okay. Well, yeah, I just ignore him, I guess. Thank you, Todd, for the $10.
People does it take to ruin your day? How many people does it take to ruin your life? How many people does it take to turn an achievement into ash?
Depends.
This is why we talk about it. And this is what's so hard about being in a situation like this. If you're lonely and you're attractive, and we're going to talk more about that, right? And you have one relationship where the person even says, like, they don't treat you like a person, right? Like, they're like really interested in your looks, and you kind of like, you try to make it work, right? Because you're like, okay, I'm lonely. What's the antidote? Like, I need to be in a relationship. Okay, let's like find someone. Okay, this person's nice. They're being really nice to me. They're getting me flowers. We're going on dates and whatnot. We're, you know, dating for 6 months. But like, the more you're in that relationship, you start to feel like there's not a connection here. And then you break up with them because you torture yourself for months in this relationship, trying to find a connection with another human being. And then when you end the relationship because you're not getting a connection, they're even like, yeah, by the way, I wasn't really interested in you as a person. And that hurts. That sinks in deep. It confirms everything that you fear.
Ryzik, I don't know. I don't really care too much about it.
The challenge here is that sometimes we have advantages. And there's data, for example, that shows that attractive people get particular advantages in life. We're not disputing that. The key thing is that somewhere along the way, we started to take the advantages that, let's say, attractive people face, women the advantages that attractive people receive, that women receive, that tall men receive. You know, you can take whatever you want. Like, you can take whatever advantage. There are all kinds of advantages. Having hair, right? That's an advantage. People treat you differently. And somewhere along the way, we started gatekeeping, suffering
Zach, what are you
if
talking
someone
about?
has an advantage. And we started to invalidate people's experiences around this. We started to say that, by the way, if you're attractive, you're not allowed to be lonely. You're not allowed to be socially anxious, because everyone would want to be friends with an attractive person, right? Because there's actually data that shows that. That maybe, I mean, I actually don't know that. I haven't looked at that, but I'm sure that there's papers out there that show that attractive people have more friendships than non-attractive people. Right? It's not a surprising finding. But here's the thing to understand, is that each and every one of us is an individual human being. And that no one feature of us determines who we are as a person. And in fact, the reason that this makes us so lonely is because sometimes if we're attracted...
Crazy tactics. I disagree with you. I think you're allowed it. I think you're allowed to complain about it if that's something you want to do. I agree with Dr. I feel like Dr. K hasn't said anything disagreeable. It's that, you know, individual people, like even individual attractive women can experience loneliness and shit. That their individual experience can be their individual experience. Like, again, I would want to have heard from that person why they think all of their relationships aren't working out, why they aren't pursuing those other people. I would have liked greater detail on it, and maybe he'll get into it in the set of this video, but I don't know why you wouldn't be allowed to complain about it.
It's like that one feature is the only thing that other people see. And that's not just about attractiveness, right? This is something that's generalizable as well, where you may be someone whose entire life, or what everyone looks at when they see you, is determined by one feature. I'm the oldest son of a business mogul. Therefore, the weight of the world's expectations are on my shoulders. I'm an attractive woman. Therefore, everything for me is supposed to be easy. And this is what's so devastating about it, is when things are supposed to be easy for you.
You can complain about it, but don't expect any sympathy. Well, apparently this person got a lot of fucking sympathy. But sympathy is, I think you can give sympathy to this person if that's something that you feel sympathetic about. I mean, I just don't know enough about this person's situation to feel sympathy for them, by and large. I mean, I can kind of feel bad for them. I a little bit feel bad for them, but I don't really know what the fuck is happening still. You're allowed, but people are kind of hate you for it. It's like complaining to a poor person about being too rich. There are valid reasons, but people feel weird about it. Sure. Sympathy isn't something you need to earn, LMFAO. Do you know how hard it is to get banned from Discord? Lol.
How does that make you feel when they're hard? Because everyone's telling you, hey, life is supposed to be easy. You got the golden ticket. You're playing life on easy mode. It's devastating. Because failing at life is one thing, but failing at life on easy mode destroys who you are. Destroys your capacity for self-love. So what do we do about this? So the first thing to understand is that sometimes...
Why are we categorizing not getting a relationship as failing at life? Jesus Christ. I'm not trying to say Dr. K is doing it, but I figured at this point Dr. K would say, like, this isn't the end all be all, right? For someone like somebody in my position who, you know, I feel like I'm probably not going to find a person to be in a relationship with my whole life, primarily because of my lack of desire to want to put in the dozens of hours, hundreds of hours of work that it might take to be able to improve my social skills, right? And my standards being like more in line with like modern women, leftist women that are already a minority. Well, not even leftist. I don't even need like a leftist. It's just like a more modern woman. Like these I'm doing it to myself, and I'm recognizing these things, and that recognition then puts me in a position, okay, what should I do? Because I'm not going to find this. What should I do to make my life great independently of this? And, that's spending time with my family and building connections with friends and shit like that. I feel like that should be the focus of where we're at right now. You aren't a failure at life, just, you can do other things to make you happy. A lot of women relating in the comments below this video. Worth a look after the vid is done. Sure. He's baiting people's emotions. That's why he is exaggerating. Well, for a long time, that's what our main goal was, right? Be a wife and a mother. It's barely being accepted that we can have other goals. Sure. And this person's almost 30 years old, so they probably grew up a little bit more in a time where that's less acceptable, I guess, to be able to do that. But, if men can get through it, I think women can. I believe it's possible. I don't know why men would be more capable of doing it than women.
Sometimes people who are in this cycle, and it sounds like this person, in a sense, is not in this cycle, but I still want to kind of talk about it. Sometimes when we have one feature which we think should fix loneliness, okay? Or the world tells us, invalidates us if we say we're lonely. We can use that feature as a crutch to connect with other people. So if you're an attractive woman and you feel lonely, sometimes what you'll fall into is casual sexual relationships. And you're looking for more, but sometimes that feeling of loneliness is so heavy and so crippling that you'll use anything you can to make it go away for a little while. Right? Because the truth of the matter is that feeling of loneliness has a neurochemical component. So after having sex with someone and after laying with them, you'll get this.
Ahrelevant, I didn't really understand your first.
And this is once again an oversimplification, but oxytocin is one of the hormones that we use to bond. So it's responsible for maternal infant bonding. It's also responsible for bonding in romantic relationships. It's part of the reason why friends with benefits can sometimes be hard, or specifically cuddling after engaging in sexual relations with a friend with benefits will start to create catching feelings. It's part of the reason that we catch feelings. And so if you're lonely and you're craving human connection, it turns out that sex can give you a piece of that. As an interesting aside, some people have even found research, or some people have done research on why people with schizophrenia have difficulty forming emotional connections with other people. And one of the theories they've traced it back to is actually oxytocin deficiencies. And so some people were pretty pioneering, and they thought, okay, what if we artificially give people oxytocin nasal spray, because that's the delivery thing that they did. So they did clinical trials on oxytocin nasal spray for people with schizophrenia to see if they could help them form relationships and emotional bonds. Turns out that the data wasn't really good and it didn't seem to be very effective. It was a really interesting kind of side note. So sometimes when we're really lonely, we'll use anything that we can to get our needs met.
Right, so if it didn't work, that kind of sounds like a weird thing to have brought up, but
right? You want to crave some kind of, you're craving that connection so much, you'll even engage in sex. And it sounds like this person has sort of tried the casual sex route and it sort of didn't work for them, which I think is a step in the right direction. So be a little bit careful about what you use to get your needs met. Because if you do use sex to connect with another person, because it does sort of engage oxytocin for them, it engages oxytocin for you, there's some amount of bonding. Freudian slip of the year. There's some amount of bonding, but that bonding too is somewhat artificial. That connection that you're forming with them is based on them not knowing who you are. And then something really devastating can happen. Because over time, you can start to learn
Ahrelevant,
that the only way for me to get this is through sex. Because in your life, you're lonely until you have sex with someone. And then for a few moments, you're connected. And then over time, if that's the only way you can connect to people, what does that do to your sense of identity? It cripples it. Because now the only thing that I'm worth, the only worth that I bring as a person is through my body. That's the only way I can connect with people. And so interestingly enough, what we tend to see, and this is not just about attractive women who are lonely, but this is also about people who engage in unhealthy sexual relationships and use sex as a coping mechanism and things like that. We sort of create this vicious cycle where I'm getting my needs met through some kind of unhealthy relationship, and the unhealthy relationship actually reinforces the negative parts of myself that make it hard for me to connect. Because if I'm not worth any more than my body, then why would anyone ever want to connect with me? I can't risk showing people what I really am, because what I am is ugly, but what I look like is attractive. And so you're terrified to actually engage with people, even though you crave.
Okay, listen, man, I know this isn't going to be the time to say it, but I absolutely think this is pretty true. Sorry, it's a little bit biased. I don't think it's very incendiary, but it's kind of... Attractive people are kind of worse people. I think by and large, I think attractive people, by and large, are just worse people. In my experience... That's been the case. I don't know if it's because their looks allow them to get by and they could just, be shitty people or whatever, but it tends to be that attractive people are just not very good people. I don't know, man. I don't know, dude. I don't know, dude. Bro, it is what it is, man. There's less incentive to build character. Yeah, because everybody will accept you to do anything. Like me, for instance, right? I have to build my social skills that way I can be interesting to women. If I was more attractive, I would never have to do that. Like, if I was like a 9 out of 10, I would just be interesting based on my looks. And then, like, I wouldn't have to build make myself a more well-rounded person. I wouldn't have to do it. But I do. So, I don't know. Jesus Christ, and I don't know, man. Attractive people. I don't know what it is.
So the first thing to do is, if you're in that cycle, understand that cycle. Now, the second thing that I want to comment on is, I imagine that there are some people who are listening to this who may be reacting strongly to it.
There are very attractive people who are great people. Yeah, I was just kind of memeing. Like, I think by and large, I mean, it's obviously person to person, but I think that in a general sense, that attractive people can get away with being shittier, and there's going to be attractive people who are shittier as a result.
All of the reactions that I'm in.
What's your excuse?
Visioning. Okay. Some people may say, I'm lonely and unattractive.
Yep.
But I'd take sex plus loneliness over loneliness plus no sex any day of the week.
Sure.
Right? Even having
he's getting to the thing that I guess I was talking about earlier.
Sex is like one step up. And there are some people out there who are craving a sexual relationship. Mm-hmm. And the thought of I can get laid anytime that I want to sounds like the holy grail to them. They're like, what?
I mean, some people, I guess. Yeah, sure. I think those people exist. I don't know, man. Even incels, by and large, of what I've seen, they want relationships. They don't want to just cruise through women like Chad or whatever. I think they just want to be genuinely desired.
What is this person complaining about? This sounds amazing. There may be other people who are sort of reacting to this as well, which is like, sort of like, once again, what is this person complaining about?
Of course they exist.
There's so many advantages.
I don't know, man. I think like in that moment, sure, but like as people, I think most people want a long-term relationship, or they don't really care much either way. I think those are your real, yeah. I think there's very few people on Earth who, over a sustained period of time, just want to fuck women or just want to fuck men, and that's it. They don't want a relationship at all. Because there's very, 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 very few. Called Fresh and Fit. Even Fresh and Fit want like wives. And I think I'm using the term wives accurately there. Andrew Tate, doesn't he have wives?
To being an attractive woman in the world. I don't get it. If you're listening to this and you're reacting that way, I want you to notice what you are doing to the other person with your reaction. This person is telling you that they're suffering. They have something that, granted, you don't have. And there may be advantages to that. And you can want that thing. But you're just assuming that their experience is incorrect. And you're actually depriving them of the capacity to suffer and connect with other people, because what you're doing is judging them, right? You're just sort of like, you're not like actually like acknowledging who they are as a person and treating them with compassion. You're actually saying like, why are you complaining?
So here's something where I'll push back against them. I think of plenty of times. So for instance, when my chat was pushing back against my experiences earlier, I think it was in good faith. I think it was overall good. I would prefer a reality where chat pushes back against my stated experiences, tries to like give critiques and whatever, than a reality where people just outright accept my experiences. Because a big issue, especially on the internet, is people lying about their experiences in order to garner sympathy, or exaggerating their experiences even when they think that like they're being genuine, right? And there's just like, oh, it's just like a little bit played up. It's not really that big of a deal. And so people pushing back against the experiences that, for instance, I was communicating about my lived experience, I think that's good. I think we should do that, because some people will be like for instance, let's take an example of all of the experiences I said, if I was actually complaining about it, right? And I was saying, dude, women's standards are too fucking high. They expect me to be interesting. They expect me to have something to talk about. Why can't all these bitches just approach me and be okay the way that, like with life the way that they are, like where I can just sit back and have women come to me and then ask me and then have to pitch themselves to me? Why do I have to be the guy that pitches myself to them? This is so fucking annoying. These bitches, whatever shit, right? Enter that. I'm complaining about it. I think it's genuinely fair to go like, yeah, you know what? Your experience could be this way or whatever, but like, yeah, you get this shit pretty fucked up. I think that's perfectly valid, right? Explaining your experience and clearly leading somebody to a conclusion that is incongruent with the reality of their problem or otherwise, I think is pretty important to talk about the experience. Let's talk about incels as well, another example, where many incels will talk about the reason why women don't want me is because I'm not a Giga Chad, when they're like 6 out of 10, possibly 6.5, 7 out of 10. I really got to find that picture of a guy that said he was an incel from that incel board. But there's like a 6.5, 7 out of 10 guy who was like on an incel board, like, bro, I can't get a girlfriend. Listening to that guy, and then if he was like, yeah, women just don't like me because of my looks, I can confidently say you are wrong. You are not correct. What you're perceiving as the fact of the matter is not correct. There is something else going on. Probably social. There is something else going on. I think that's good to be able to push back against that. I think we should be able to keep.
Now, here's the key thing to understand if you're having that reaction, which is okay.
I think your feelings can be called into question. Because, again, in the example of the incel, dude, I feel like women are just, well, maybe, I think I know what you mean when you say your feelings can't be called into question. It's like whether or not you're feeling something can't be called into question, but whether or not your feeling is congruent with reality or congruent with what you're stating is can be called in question. For instance, I am very angry that women are rejecting me because of my looks, and you're like a 7 out of 10 dude. It's like, okay, they're not, so let's talk about something else. Yeah, most people want a hug box or an echo chamber. Yeah, and I mean, that's fine if that's what you want or whatever. I don't think that's what people should have in most circumstances. Maybe I'm going a little bit too hard on people. People probably should have an echo chamber or a hug box for specific issues. It's probably good for their mental health, but I think people have too much of it, and I think it's too much.
Tried to demonstrate your suffering and your humanness to other people, how did they react to you? When you said, I'm lonely.
What do you mean when you say you want a traditional relationship? Like, what is your perfect relationship? A woman who is opinionated, a woman who is independent, and a woman that understands that I like video games. I believe 10 of these exist on Earth, probably. Like literally 10. It's very, very, very uncommon.
When you said
none of this is traditional, fuck no. A woman being have you heard, like, most traditional, a woman being an opinionated is not traditional. When I say opinionated, I'm talking about, like, if I say something stupid, we're going to go back and forth on why what I just said was stupid. We're going to try and come to a reasonable consensus on why what I just said was stupid, and then we'll break off and we'll be cool, right? Assertive women are difficult to come by because if as a woman, you're kicked in your teeth if you're assertive. Like, you're fucking beaten down by every single person that you talk to if you're assertive because you're a bitch. And then you have women that go, I would say, too far past the line, right, to the point where they, like, make being assertive their whole fucking personality. And finding that right balance of, like, somebody who's reasonably assertive, that's going to be very difficult to find just to be assertive, let alone the independent, like someone that has their shit together. I don't even mean, like, financially, but, like, emotionally, they can handle themselves. They know how to deal with their feelings, how to process their feelings and communicate properly, know how to handle conflict inside of a relationship. And then somebody that isn't gonna just, like, shit on me for my hobbies of playing video games and shit like that. Like, fucking impossible. How much, what percent of time are you willing to sacrifice playing video games to do things with their? Depends. It would be case by case. How much time would they want me to sacrifice? I think it's fine to critique, but I feel like you do it with the interest to better our lives. Other people do it with the jealousy that she gets attention at all. Oh, you're talking about the Reddit post? Yeah.
It's
Splate. Spallet? Splate.
It's impossible for me to find a date. When you said I'm never gonna
that's uncommon, but not like 10. You're unironically describing my sister. I don't know. I think I would doubt it. My experience. So I'm just gonna put it this way, right? My ex said they were this way, communicated they were this way. Ass met grass, we're not. It's just, it happens that way. I think people will perceive it as being a certain way that it's really just not. You know, I'm not communicating it. It's difficult to communicate what I want in an effective manner, but yeah. I think you're answered this before, but what age range are you looking for? Any fucking below 32, and obviously above 18. I don't really have much of a care.
get laid. What did the
Maybe you had unrealistic expectations for the gaming part. I think playing video games by and large more than 5 hours a day is already unrealistic for most women to be okay with. But yeah.
world say to you?
A strong personality, has a job / is in school and doesn't care you game a lot. The gaming part, not so strong personality is doing a lot of work there. I want somebody that's like gonna be able to go back and forth with me on politics, on philosophy, that is going to be engaged in talking about those things for hours, because I like doing that. I talk with my friends about it for hours. I talk with my brother. There was a time where I was talking with my brother 6 hours a day about philosophy. about different whatever topics. I like that. I want to be able to have that and recreate that in another experience. I want to be able to do that shit, and I want that person also to be cool with, hey, if Tarkov Wipe comes out, you're not going to see me for a couple days outside of maybe just being in bed asleep. And you're going to have to be okay with that, because this is something that's really important to me that I'm going to want to do for hours and hours a day. Yeah, I'm not going to want to travel. I'm not going to want to go outside. I'm not going to want to do all these things. And already we're running with sub% of the population. Date your brother then? Trust me, I've tried. I'm kidding. Take ladies in the library. Nah, I literally don't think I'm interesting enough even. I think you'll have more success looking for younger women. Older women are going to want to hit the ground running, have a family, and doing adult things. I don't even care about that. Who cares? So was your ex not cool with your gaming? No, I think they were fine by and large with the video games. I think there was an issue with talking about politics. I wanted to do it talking about politics and philosophy a little bit more. There was an issue with hobbies not having much overlap at all, because while they did play video games, they played like Stardew Valley, which I don't really care too much about. They didn't like any of the games I liked. So it was just kind of, yeah. Finding a person who's into my hobbies, that's tough. Even finding men who's into my hobbies is not super easy, but finding a woman is Allah.
Lol, what? Just work on yourself. Just untake
same games? Well, it's not even just same games. It's just games that I'm even interested in, you know? Most games that women play, I'm not really interested in. I'm a little bit interested in The Sims. Not very interested in Stardew Valley, in Minecraft, in Terraria, in fucking Dead by Daylight. I think has a lot of women who play that game. Not really into that game. You know, most of those games I'm not really into.
black pill. It's all in your head. You can fix it. The world did to you exactly what you're doing to this person. And when the world does that, when the world...
So they have to like your games, but you don't need to like theirs? No, I don't think that they have to like my games, or I have to like theirs. It's just that process of them liking my games was a fissure. We didn't share those things. Like, I couldn't talk to them about Tarkov and have them be interested in it. So it's less points of being able to talk about shit. That's all. When you are 30, you will meet someone 24 years old that meets your requirements. That's the red pill game, right? I don't think I'll want to date a chick who's 6 years younger than me. Bro, if she likes your games, that means you like her games too? Sure. Because you both like the same games? Right. I'm saying that it didn't really happen. You learn to listen and be interested in your partner's stuff, even if you don't do it yourselves. That just comes with time. Well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not trying to say that you can't like show an interest in your partner's shit. What I'm saying is that being interested in your partner's shit gives you more to talk about, makes the relationship deeper. I don't understand how this is hard. Maybe I'm saying something stupid. I don't understand how this is hard to say. I don't understand what's going on. It must be really fucking dumb.
The world invalidates us. Sometimes what we do is we lean into a community that says, yes, 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 your suffering is justified, your suffering is real. Right? And then we separate. You know, I'm not saying that there aren't some people who have some advantages in life, but my overwhelming experience has been that advantages are advantages. Make no mistake.
Is it fair to say that incels can have genuine experiences except romantic ones? No. They can't have sexual experiences. They can't have romantic experiences. Whereas in her case, she has them, but all of her relationships are fake and superficial. I mean, in her case, she doesn't have romantic relationships either. She has sexual relationships. But the thing is that the only thing holding her back is something that, well, maybe not only thing. One of the things that's holding her back wasn't properly explained. That's what I would have wanted. Wanted to hear from her what exactly she thought was going wrong. One, two. An issue was that her problem could probably be resolved by continuous trials. This is what she is going through. I think is one of the issues with dating as a woman. Is there is no real tried and true way to make sure that the guy that you're going out to see is going, or even be in a short-term relationship with, because her examples showed that. And I'm really happy that I can now refer to this video as an example of what I've been talking about, that women can even get in short-term relationships, 6 months relationships, and it could be all superficial, all about sex, all about status, or whatever the guy seeks to gain out of having a hot girlfriend. You know, you don't know as a woman. It's very difficult for you to know, right? Technically, a woman can like play you for your money or whatever if you're a guy be in a short-term relationship, but this is a lot less common, I think, than guys trying to vie to be in a relationship with a woman for sexual purposes. So as a woman, it's pretty fucked. It's pretty difficult. You got to just kind of hope, you know? Maybe she didn't want to have sex till 6 months. I mean, we don't know anything about it. And I don't really think there's a solution for women about this. There's no way for me to go, hey, you know, your boyfriend of 4 months, yeah, he only cares about your body. Like, there's no way to, like, prove that, you know? There's no way for a woman to scope this out prior to being in a relationship with him. Because dudes wait so long for sex sometimes that they could just fucking wait forever. You could be one of 3 side chicks, who knows? Like, there's a million different scenarios. So it's really fucking difficult. There's not really a way around it. You kind of just have to try and try and try and try and try and try. And trial and error. That's really all you can do. See how long he will wait before sex? No. The problem with that is there's a lot of men, including like reasonable people. I would say even me, I've been in this category where a woman has been like, what I feel like is waiting for sex. And I'm like, are you leading me on? And then you feel led on because they're like just doing normal shit, but they're not like taking it to the next level. And it's like, you know, what's going on? And they're just like, oh, I'm here to have a good time. And then it's like, okay, you're using me for dates, or what's happening here? Like, are you friend zoning me? What's going on? And then you're like, you know what? I don't want to fucking deal with this shit. And you leave. There's plenty of like genuinely good people that will fall into that category as well. They won't be like strung along for a prolonged period of time. Yeah? Who broke up with who? In regards to what? If she made me wait 4 months, we're not together anymore. Yeah, sure. She probably has to grow and become a better person herself before she can recognize it in someone else as distinct from the fuckboys. I just disagree. Like, okay, imagine I'm a woman, okay? I'm a woman. And I have encountered 15 different relationships with fuckboys, okay? Last 15 relationships I've been in with fuckboys. Crazy tactics. What advice do you give me to avoid the fuckboys? How do I do it? Did the boyfriend break up with her, or did she break up with him? Fuck, I think it said in the story, but I don't remember. Damn. Kevo? You don't believe women can be lonely? You want to get in Discord for me, Kevo? Learns traits that are unique to non-fuckboys. Ah. I'm not sure what to say. That's my point. I don't think there's a surefire way of doing it. I don't think there is. Even waiting to, have sex, I don't think is a surefire way to do it. I think you get I think a lot of dudes will wait to have sex, and I think that there's also the stigma about making dudes wait for sex and shit like that. But making dudes wait for sex, you'll get a lot of guys who are genuinely good people not be in a relationship with you, and you'll miss out on opportunities there. So you're lowering your dating pool of legitimately good people. And true, you are getting rid of some of the fuckboys, but you're not even getting rid of all of the fuckboys. I'm sure a fuckboy stands out to me as a man, so I'm not sure what to do. In part, what? So you're willing to tell me right now that you could point out every single guy who isn't going to take a woman seriously? Not only that, you would need to point out to me every single guy who wouldn't take specific women seriously, because we both know, I'm sure you agree with this, that certain guys will not take certain women seriously. So you can point out a guy and then point to every woman that he will not take seriously. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Maybe not 1-to-1, but at a high rate, yeah, if I had the same info gained from a couple of dates or whatever. Well, so then there you go. What you're saying to me is you have to get to know somebody over consistent periods of time to tell whether or not they're a fuckboy. That's the point, right? Is you have to go on these dates and you have to get to know these people, right? And to know whether or not they're going to be pieces of shit, right? You have to keep going and keep going and keep going and keep doing it. But for men, as a guy, I don't really have to worry about that as much, right? Because, like, generally speaking, if a woman is willing to go out with me, especially have sex with me, there's probably some kind of chance that I have, generally speaking. Of course, there are other women who use men for dinner dates and shit like that. That is a problem. That is widespread or whatever. But, generally speaking, I have a shot. Whereas a lot of women will go on dates with guys, multiple dates, maybe even be in a relationship with them, and sex is all the dude wants. I'm just so used to hearing men are more lonely. It's just weird to hear that women are. Yeah. Sure. I think men on average are more lonely, but yeah, some women are lonely too. How they tell jokes, how they walk, how they dress, how they approach, and how is that?
So I still remember, for example, being a medical student and having female colleagues and walking into a patient's room, and the patient assumes that I'm a doctor when I'm just a medical student, and they assume that and they assume that later on, when I'm actually a doctor and I have resident colleagues, assuming that their doctor is actually a nurse. So I got treated like a doctor when I wasn't one, because I'm a man, an Indian. And I had female colleagues who got treated as nurses when they were doctors. So we're not saying that these things don't exist. My point is that
women are pretend lonely. Is that a statement you're making? I can't tell. Is that a statement you're making, or what is this?
Those things don't automatically translate to happiness. And I've seen this as a psychiatrist, working with people who are struggling because they're homeless and working with people who are struggling because they're partners at investment banks. And this is something that, by the way, it's not just me, right? There's also Buddha who sort of said this.
Sure. So you believe women are only pretend lonely. If you believe women are only pretend lonely, do you want to talk about that inside of my Discord? Can't you as a woman only date men that you've had a friendship with first to validate their interests, or is that leading the guy on, kind of? It depends on how you do it. If you are trying to become friends with a guy only to see if you would date him, and then you aren't actually friends with him, and your whole expectation is to just try and get in as a friend so that way you could date them, I think that is like not leading them on, but I think that's bad practice. It's like not something you should do. It's like the guys who try and be friends with women just that way they can fuck them. If you want to be friends with a woman, be friends with a woman. But if you don't want to be friends with them, don't be friends with them. Like, trying to become somebody's friend with the expectation and the crossing your fingers hoping that they're going to date you, I don't think this is a good thing that people should do. But if you just want to date people who you know more about, and so you date your friends, like, yeah, so be it. But the problem with that is you're very much limiting your dating pool in a way that is very unpragmatic to give as practical advice, right? But yeah, I mean, you can do it if you want. Trust me, you don't want that. Why is that, Robbie? Does she have any good qualities? Maybe she sucks. I don't know. I think women could be more socially lonely, and men. I think women could be more socially lonely, and men are sexually lonely. What? Women are more social sex, though? Bro, what is happening? Capable or more common between the two, Kev? Just define pretend as a word you used because you were high while on the toilet, and then easy argument to defend.
And there's some research that sort of contradicts it, which we have to acknowledge, right? So we know that, for example, a certain amount of financial security does correlate with happiness.
Hasmanock.
So we're not saying that there isn't an influence. But what I want you to really focus on is how you treat this person. Because this is really important. When someone posts and we talk about it, we talk about what they should do differently. We give them all of the responsibility.
Bro, I think I'm finally starting to understand this no ironic misogyny meme, because it's difficult to tell what's real and what's fake anymore. Clear effect. Lonely women who can fuck anyone, stealing men's lonely valor. Is this a joke? I can't fucking tell. Bro, I'm stopping every 2 minutes because I see objectionable shit in my chat. And then I'm like, is this real? Are you being serious? Are you not being I can't fucking tell. Yeah, chat is high off the Benjamin. I can't tell what's going on, bro. I don't know what's real anymore, dude. Jesus. It is? You believe that? All right, brother. Want to get in Discord for me? Or is it? Wait. Is it a joke or is it real? Which one? It's a joke, I meant? Oh, god damn it. Bro, let me be bloodthirsty, dude. I just want to...
Right? Oh, I'm stuck. What should I do? How can I connect with people? And we're going to talk a little bit more about what this person can do. But this is something that's really important to understand. If someone is struggling out there, it's not necessarily entirely their fault. All of us are products of our environment. We're products of the judgments that people face, that people give us. Their lives are also determined by the judgments we make. And so if you're listening to this post and it's making you feel resentful because I don't understand why this person is complaining, I have it so much harder.
So that's worked for the past, though.
I'm not saying you don't have it harder. What I'm saying is that...
All right, Robbie, you got 2 minutes to get inside the Discord or you will be banned. All right, congratulations. It's just a little bit too much for me, man. Yeah, you got 2 minutes, dude. I'm not pulling you in because of any other reason besides I just think you have a bad take on women not being able to be lonely. Apparently you believe women are not able to be lonely. So you got 2 minutes, brother. Got 120 seconds. I believe in you. I'll be right back. Get in my Discord. It's linked to down below. My Discord is down below. In the description. Join it and then jump into a voice channel. I will be right back. I need to go to the bathroom. You're not inside of a voice channel. Join my Discord, join a voice channel. There's tons of voice channels there. Tell me what your name is in Discord also when you're in there.
Caring who has it harder doesn't actually help. I did 3 months of work on a trauma unit.
It says unable to accept invite. Are you banned from my Discord? That should be the link. Do you think loneliness comparison can be analogous to rich versus poor, i.e. men don't have much access while rich, i.e. women, focus on the quality of something? No. No, I don't think so. I I think women are rich with sexual options, but they aren't necessarily rich with like viable dating options. I don't necessarily believe that. And even if they are, it's very difficult to sift through them. And as men, it's going to be difficult to perceive that as being, um, I guess, not one in the same. It's going to be difficult as perceiving that as being different. Right? Does that answer your question? I feel like loneliness is a feeling of unfulfillment. You can have a great life and still be lonely if you have exceptions that expectations that don't align. Sure. Fly society, man. What are you doing? Robbie, what is your name in Discord? Have you joined the Discord? Robbie, what is your name in Discord? And have you joined the Discord? Comparing who has it harder doesn't help, but intersectionality tells us only certain groups deserve help / empathy. Timothy? Okay. Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hi, I can hear you.
Hey, how's my mic?
Yep.
I'm a bit sick. Sorry about that.
Oh no, you sound great.
The damn vaccine.
Sure. Do you want to explain your position?
Yeah, basically that true loneliness really it's only men.
Okay. Can you explain to me what true loneliness is?
It's like imagine I missed a meal yesterday. I was like, oh man, I'm literally starving to death.
Sure. I think your mic cut out or something. Or is that all you said? It was the starving to death part.
Yeah, it's like me claiming, oh, uh, white males starve to death the most. You know, like they suffer from starvation. Meanwhile, there's actual people out there starving. You know.
I don't understand that point
That
you
makes
just
sense.
made. Not real. I don't understand the white males
Like,
thing there.
uh, yeah, sorry, I was muddying shit up a bit. Hang on. I just it's like it's a victim contest, you know, and women are lacking, bro. They're not even close. These bitches ain't lonely.
Okay, can you tell me why women are lonely or aren't lonely, but men are?
I mean, they think they're lonely, but that
Sure.
shit ain't real loneliness. Come on.
Can you tell me why men experience real loneliness and women don't?
I guess people just don't give much of a fuck about men, so and men accept that nobody cares, and so they accept their shitty place in society.
What makes the loneliness that men experience more real than women's?
Um, just the severity of it, you know. You'll have a dude that he hasn't had a text on his phone, hasn't had a social media message, hasn't had family reach out, just nothing, just dead fucking social fucking despair. And then you'll have a bitch Shane being texted in 2 days, like, oh, I'm so lonely. I don't want to hear that shit.
So you're saying because women get more support when they overtly state that they're lonely, that they don't experience real loneliness?
That's part of it.
Okay, so let's start with that. Then what about women who don't overtly talk about their loneliness? Like outright, like on a public platform?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're not pretending, I guess.
Okay, so any woman who doesn't post about their loneliness online is experiencing real loneliness?
Not necessarily.
Okay, what makes them not
I'm
necessarily
just saying,
experience?
a woman's loneliness is a whole different fucking ballgame.
I'm trying to break that down. So
Okay.
we've established if a woman doesn't post on social media about her loneliness and broadcast it, and then therefore doesn't receive public support as a result of broadcasting it, what is the difference between her loneliness and a man's loneliness?
You have to ask me that again, sorry, man.
A woman doesn't broadcast her loneliness on social media. My Discord, not yours. Doesn't broadcast her loneliness on social media. What is the difference between her and a man's loneliness?
I must be retarded, man. I don't know what the fuck you're asking.
Okay. Woman, lonely, on her own, no social media. Is she truly lonely?
I mean, I doubt it. I guess it's possible.
Okay, what makes you doubt it?
So, I mean, in my experience, I don't think I've ever fucking known a woman to have zero social support, zero friends, zero social community. It's always a dude. It's like, maybe it's men to blame. Maybe women do a better job at not putting themselves in that position. But
To my knowledge, that is the big difference. This is why I didn't fight you
yeah.
on the social media thing and friends reaching out. It's because women garner naturally more relationships, and of course, women are seen as
And
being more worthy of
I'll
that.
admit
But
that I'm speaking in general. I'm sure there's lonely women out there, but when I hear women crying about their loneliness, it's such a fucking joke. Man, I feel bad for the actual lonely dudes out there. You know, stolen
well,
valor.
hold on, we're getting to that because we just established that there might be truly lonely women out there, right? We just established.
Yeah, okay, sure, but not to the same extent. It's maybe like 1 in 100 or something, right? Would you agree with that?
1 in 100 women that are truly lonely?
Yeah, to the extent that a man can be lonely,
That
that a
a
man
man can
in
be
this society is
that a man can be?
tends to be lonely.
Tends to be? I do, so, well, we need to define loneliness. Are you saying that lonely as in they don't have the same support
I
networks? They
don't.
don't.
Yeah, I mean objectively, not their internal
Well,
feelings on the matter.
okay, well, objectively, we're talking about a feeling. It's not
Like
about,
a
it's
dude
not
that ain't
objective.
had a text and like a man that's
Okay,
got no friends.
so
Like
we're
you must
define
know guys like that, right? Do you know women like that?
what, that don't get a text when they talk about being lonely?
No, that just don't get a text. Period. That don't have no friends. That don't have no support system. That it's just them. It's
Yeah,
just,
but you're just describing how women tend to be more social and have
yeah,
better
and less
social circles.
lonely. Yeah, and less lonely.
By and large, on average, yeah, they're less lonely.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't see why you're trying to say women can't experience loneliness in this, or even
Well,
in the same way that men
they
can.
can, just not to the same extent. Well, generally not to the same extent. I'm sure they can possibly.
So
But it
if you're
just
saying
doesn't tend to play out
if
like
you
that
changed your
in real life.
statement to most women who are lonely have a greater support network that enables them to have better mental health outcomes while being lonely than men do, then we agree.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. But the problem, it sounds like, is that we're assuming that the only reason why that exists is because they're women. Well, I think men can do better to make their social support networks work for them better.
That's true.
Okay, so it sounds like the solution to that problem is having men build better social support networks.
Yeah.
Okay. So women can experience true loneliness. It's just the average woman, when she experiences loneliness, is going to have greater social support, community support than men because women
Yeah.
typically foster those kinds of relationships that provide that emotional support more often.
Yeah, it's like a Western person complaining about starvation, you know? Like I'm sure there's people in the West that are starving, but not to the same extent. It's such a drastically different situation that it's almost offensive to compare it, you know?
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Now, this is where it gets more difficult: is the arbitrary difference that we're
Stolen
drawing.
valor sort of thing, I guess. I mean, I don't give a fuck.
Well, it kind of seems like you give a fuck, but all right. So, if you believe it's such a drastic difference between the two, where is this difference manifesting? Like, how do you see the difference? Like, what are you seeing that I don't see?
Just, I guess, self-reported experiences.
You don't think women have like significant loneliness that they self-report?
Yeah, but not to the same extent. It's not even comparable.
What
It's
do you
like I
mean?
said. It's like comparing. Oh man,
Sure.
I haven't heard from a
Instead
family member.
instead of using an
I haven't
instead of
heard
you
from a friend. I haven't received a text message. I haven't had an email. I haven't had anybody reach out. And then you got some bits like, oh my god, I'm so lonely. Nobody texted me today.
don't is but we already established there's tons of women who feel lonely and they don't get texts because they're not on social media posting on TikTok about how lonely they are.
I'm sorry, Hose. I'm really sorry. You're not the pretend lonely bitches I'm talking about.
So I'll get back to that. Do you not see how you can come off as a bit upset when you're saying like sorry hoes? You're not the bitches I'm talking about.
I didn't I didn't mean to apologize.
Well, you don't have to apologize to me. I'm just saying this is how you're gonna come off.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Okay. All right. So you think that Yeah, it's a pretty difficult. My Discord, not yours. It's a pretty difficult bridge to gap because my Discord again. Um.
That's cute. Your chat feels sorry for me, bro.
Well, it's difficult to try and communicate to you because the disconnect we're running into is whether or not it's a completely different lived reality to have people give you. Okay, maybe I can parse ways with this. If you said that you didn't think you were a very attractive guy, and I said, no, I think you're a very attractive guy, do you feel much better when I say that?
Obviously not.
Right. Do you think women feel much better because, like, a bunch of people, when they say, I'm lonely, a bunch of people online will go like, oh, no, you're great, you're great.
Okay. What's the point?
The point is that it's analogous, right? That somebody saying something that you could easily attribute to as pity or sympathy, I don't think that makes it a world apart. You need a meaningful connection there. Somebody, like, if I post online, I'm very lonely, I'm depressed, and then a bunch of people respond with like, oh no, like, you're so great, you have nothing to be depressed about or whatever, that doesn't really make me feel better. Right?
No, I wouldn't.
So then why do you think that women have such a better experience being lonely than men do, if that's the reaction? Unless you don't believe that's the reaction when they pose.
I don't think they have a better. I mean, I just feel like their loneliness isn't as pronounced. You know, I don't think they have a better experience. I don't think they handle loneliness better or anything like that.
I don't understand. How do they not really experience loneliness? Because I thought the reason why we had established that women might not experience loneliness in the same way men do is because the response to women's loneliness is often with more community support.
No.
Okay, why? I'm asking you then why?
Why what?
Why do women not really experience true loneliness in comparison to men?
They experience loneliness. It's just, well, I imagine it was like you said before, you know, because society sort of looks out for them and they make a better effort looking after themselves.
So women are better at dealing with emotional crises, and so women's loneliness is.
I think they deal with it more so socially, you know, they're encouraged to. Yeah. I too. Your chat keeps asking if I'm high.
So don't talk to the chat. They deal with it more socially, but that doesn't mean that they don't experience true loneliness. They just deal with true loneliness in a different way.
Yeah, they experience true loneliness. They get a lower dose, you know. They don't get as a severe version of it.
Why do they get a lower dose?
The society bail them out a little.
Huh?
Society looks out for them. Society cares about women more than men.
Okay, so what do you mean? What do you mean when you say society looks out for them? What does that look like?
Social support? What do you mean?
Okay, and now we're back to what I was saying earlier. What does that social support look like?
Friends, family, support system.
Okay, what does that look like? So woman says right, and the way that this typically goes is a bunch of people messaging them, "No, you're good, you're great. You're a great person. You shouldn't be lonely." Correct?
Okay.
And then we already established that this is probably not going to do. You don't really care much about that. I don't really care much about.
Sure, but it's got to be better than literally no word from anybody
I
ever.
agree. Right? I agree with you. I agree with that. But I don't think that's the night and day difference here. This is why I said like this. We got to get into the finer details. The way you make it sound, the way that it sounds, is that like when a woman says that she's lonely, we give her like millions of dollars to try and make her fix this fucking problem. Like tons of people throw a tons of attention at her, and then like when a guy says he's lonely, we literally shoot him in the fucking dick. Like you sound like it's a world apart. Really, I think the main difference comes to the interpersonal support networks that women establish that do things by and large
Okay,
to
so
make
they
them,
have these support systems, right?
yeah, that they have
So
this work to establish,
isn't that,
correct?
okay, so doesn't that prevent them from experiencing true loneliness to the extent a man could?
No, I don't think so. I think that they can
So
bounce
they
back.
got thousands of people at their beck and call waiting to give them social support. And that's just the same as the loneliness a
Never
man
said it was
has
never.
literally nobody.
Never said it was the same. I think it is different. I think men have that worse. That like a woman can, like for instance, right now, if I tweet "I am lonely," being just by virtue of me being a dude with a penis, I will get maybe a tenth of the responses that a woman would get. Sure, that is the case. I recognize that, but those responses aren't going to be like fulfilling responses. We've already established that. The responses that are going to be fulfilling come from the emotional labor and the time that I put in to foster good relationships between friends. That's going to be the difference, right? That the emotional support network that matters is the ones that women have put time into in between their friends and family that men can do, and we ought to encourage men to do. But some men have them. Let's talk about me. I am one of those men who have them. I think I have way stronger relationships with family and with friends than most women, most people on the planet Earth, right? If I'm ever feeling lonely, like, or whatever, which very rare, I can talk to the people I know IRL, and they'll help me out. I don't even have to broadcast that shit.
So I'm very happy for you.
Well, no, my point though is that this isn't a like man or woman response thing. This is just women are socialized and are seen as, you know, like the wage gap. You know how like men tend to do things that make them more money, work longer hours, jobs that make them more money. Women tend to do things that foster relationships that are more socially fulfilling.
Sure.
Right. And I don't view women's loneliness as like less true because by and large they have greater support networks. I agree, on average, a woman's loneliness is probably not going to be as severe as a man's because.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think I get where you come from there.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. But yeah, I'm gonna keep calling these bitches pretend lonely though. Fuck them.
Well, that's what we came in here to discuss.
Yeah.
How is it pretend lonely?
Because they got all that support, man.
I think you are dramatically
How are you
overestimating.
starving with a pantry full of food? Get the fuck out of here.
We've already established it's not
I
a
don't
pantry.
like eating the crisps though. They don't agree with me.
So where am I going wrong? You heard me explain the situation. Where am I going wrong?
Let me think about that one. Too patient, I think.
I'm too patient?
Yeah, if I had to pick in one way you were going wrong, it would be there.
I'm too patient. How's that affecting anything here?
What do you mean?
What does being patient have to do with anything we've discussed?
You asked me, and what did you ask me?
I asked you, where am I going wrong? What am I doing wrong? Why am I not seeing the problem that you're seeing?
Because you're too patient.
What does patience have to do?
Giving me too much credit.
Okay, so what? I should just write you off as an idiot, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. Well, if you think that, man, then I guess that's where this ends. So I just want to establish to you that when you talk about these things, right? I think that women can experience loneliness. I think on average, a woman is going to have a greater support network because they put the effort, the labor into building those social connections that enable them to, when they experience loneliness, to be have a greater support system. I think we should encourage men to do it, but I don't believe that the problem, the discrepancy between men and women's loneliness is as great as you're describing it. I think men or women can experience true loneliness. I think women do experience true loneliness. I don't believe it's like someone's starving and there's like food inside of the pantry. Often the support that women receive by publicly talking about their loneliness is just platitudes or people trying to take advantage. So if you talk about like the men who reach out to them, I think that's people trying to take advantage of somebody else's loneliness.
You're probably right, man. My brain's probably just rotted, you know.
Okay, brother.
You got a good chat though, man. I'll give you that.
I appreciate it, man. You won't.
Very kind people.
Thanks. You won't be banned. You're free to talk and chat as you like, but you, if you keep speaking in a similar manner,
hating to a minimum, I promise.
Well, you just say however you feel. Just be ready to get in Discord.
Okay. That's it. For sure.
That's all I ask. Okay. All right. Great. See you later, buddy. Yeah.
Cheers, bro.
Yeah.
Good chat.
Yeah. Thank you for the 5, Timmy. And Dog Eat Dog, thank you for the 5. I appreciate it. Both of you. Thank you.
And then also was on call and stuff for years on the same trauma unit. Got called a lot. And one of the things that we found,
I think that went well,
is that people would instinctively compare their trauma. Oh, you were emotionally abused? I was physically abused. You were physically abused? I was sexually abused. And it doesn't help. Right? Why do people do that? It's because they themselves, when you shared your story of suffering, people invalidated you. They said, you don't deserve to suffer. Like, what are you complaining about? You're a male incel. There's male privilege. Right? And then the incels are saying, oh, there's like women privilege. They can get laid whenever they want to. Like, my point is like, it's not about the statistics. It's about how we treat each other as human beings. When someone else says they suffer, how do you respond to that? When you shared your suffering, how did someone else respond to you? And that's what I really commend about this person, because this person is saying, this is my experience. And what I'm really proud of is that this is a community where we have heard this person. And we've said, we hear you. It sounds tough. And by the way, this is me. I didn't know that attractive women could feel this way. Right? Which is awesome. That's where AOE healing comes from. So I said it at the beginning, I'll say it again. You're welcome here. Now, last thing to talk about. So one thing is we talked about the cycle, right? Next thing to talk about is what do you do if you're kind of in this situation? So generally speaking, when I encounter situations like this, we do see this cycle of being judged because of the way that you look. Your identity starts to form, kind of like it almost gets split off, where this is like the real me and this is the way that the world treats me. And the more that I get judged about the way that I look, the more isolated I feel and the less good of a person I kind of become in my own head. I don't know if that sort of makes sense. But so for example, like let's say I get promoted,
I know what he means.
And people make comments, and how many comments does it take to ruin your day? Right? So like if you have a birthday party and 10 people bring gifts and one of them is a pile of feces, that's going to ruin your day, even if the other 9 gifts were really great. If 10 people there, if 9 people are like, hey, you're a really awesome person, we really love having you in our life, and one person is like, here's a pile of feces, you're a waste of space, I hope you cease to exist. right? It doesn't like that. That's the fundamental problem with the world, which is that it's so much easier to hurt than it is to help.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think I would care about that.
And so the challenge here is that as we develop and as we start getting treated a particular way because of our
I know what he means. I know what he means. I don't know. I tend to just ignore that kind of shit because it's like, that's just unreasonable. And I just kind of ignore it.
identity.
If it's reasonable, though, yeah, then I can understand it ruining my day.
We start to realize, oh, like here's my worth as a human being. Here's all the successes and failures I have. But if I'm pretty and more people attribute it to my attractiveness, then my actual sense of self kind of like falls and goes in the other direction. Does that kind of make sense? Because the more that people start to talk about my achievements being due to my attractiveness.
Vlad the Imperial. That's where I'm at, where it's like it only really works if you think there's some level of truth to it. Like somebody like examples that I've had is like I've been out in public and I've had somebody say some like shit about like some racist shit to me. I'm just like, oh, that's just unreasonable, and it completely doesn't affect my day at all because it's just an unreasonable thing to say, and I just move on. But the only problem when it starts fucking with my day, if it causes me significant inconvenience, like if somebody does something unreasonable to me that makes me like jump over hurdles, that's annoying. Or if it like is actually reasonable,
or due to my wealth or due to my advantages, the more
if it's reasonable, is it mean? Yeah, it can be.
I start to feel bad about myself. And the more I start to feel bad about myself, the more that I compensate in different kinds of ways. Like I develop a strong ego or narcissistic defense mechanisms. And y'all can even see that like in the mass media with public figures, right? There are some people out there
Robbie,
who when they accomplish things, no one says, hey, good job. That's actually pretty impressive. What everyone says is, oh, you just got there because you were born with advantages. And then we'll also potentially even see the egotistical responses. And then it just becomes a cycle. Right? Because the thought...
Who do you think is the most bad faith debater you've debated with? Fuck, that's hard. Probably some random chatter I can't remember. I've had some pretty bad ones with chatters that just can't wrap their head around basic shit that I'm trying to tell them. Bosch was pretty bad. But he definitely wasn't the worst, nowhere close. Probably like infrared. Maybe.
Of compassion towards that person is mind-blowing. Like, what? So what do you do if you're kind of in this situation where you've been taught or you've learned this lesson that your worth is based on your attractiveness? So I know it's going to sound...
for women, it's probably fucking everyone. I mean, everything is built on the idea that your only worth is your attractiveness as a woman.
Kind of hard, but what you should do is find out who you are. So who you are is not determined by how you're treated. That's why we call one how you're treated, right? How people relate to you. It's a treatment. It's not who you are. The problem is that we tend to conflate the two. And for people who are more egotistical, whose ahamkars are stronger, what we tend to find is that who they are is how they are treated. So in psychiatry, this is like when we look at narcissism. So if people treat me with respect, I feel like I'm on top of the world. But if people treat me with disrespect, I'm a horrible human being. And so how do I protect myself in that situation? I have to force people to treat me with respect, because I can't tolerate when they don't. Because if they don't treat me with respect, then my sense of identity is determined by how I'm treated. And you'll see this, which is why like people always have to be the center of attention. They can't tolerate criticism, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to find out who you are. How do you do that? So I recognize that you're lonely. I think there are a couple of different ways to find out who you are, and we're going to kind of speed run this, right? This is like the topic of potentially a whole guide. But a couple things. The first is to spend time with yourself. And you may say, but I'm lonely, I do that all day. There's a subtle difference. There's a difference between being at home and wanting to be with someone else and spending time with yourself. So like, you know, before stream today, I went for a walk. And I went for a walk with myself. And I just spent time letting my thoughts happen, thinking through stuff. I recognize that I need some time with myself. We need to like work through a couple things, figure out what to do, figure out what we're going to do today, how we're going to handle an extra stream this week, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes, I love this, I'll go eat on my own at a restaurant when I get a chance to. And people may look at you and think like, oh my God, like this person is so pathetic, they're eating alone. And it's like, they can think that if they want to. I just really want to enjoy my food my way. I don't have to, you know, sometimes like, usually I go out to eat with my kids, for example, right? But like going out.
I mean, I think this isn't bad advice. I just, I think you should be more clear on how to be on your own, because I feel like he's talking about like introspection and shit and like figuring out who you are as a person. Reflecting on your choices and whether or not you made those primarily for yourself or where they came from and shit like that, and what choices you would make if they wanted to reflect who you are as a person.
Out to eat with your kids is like, I don't really have time to enjoy my food because I have to worry about feeding them, ordering for them, they're flopping around, they want to watch a screen, things like, it's chaos. I'm wolfing down my food in between, like, you know, trying to feed them bites and make sure they're not like, the elbow isn't going to hit. If you guys have young kids, you'll know this. The elbow isn't going to knock their cup of water over. So spend time with yourself. Go for a hike. I think nature is fantastic that way. So if we really look at it, like if ego ties to how other people perceive us, one way that we can get away from that whole complex is nature. Because nature doesn't care. Like if you go for a hike and you go alone versus go with someone else, like let me give you a couple scenarios. Let's say that I'm going for a 4-hour hike. 2 hours in, I start to feel tired. And I'm like, maybe I should turn back. And then if you're with someone, you choose not to turn back. Why don't you turn back? Because you don't want to be perceived as weak. And so even if you accomplish your goal, do you feel pride in it? No. I hiked for the avoidance of weakness. It actually enhances the ego and makes you more insecure. If you go by yourself, you're on the first 2 hours of the hike.
I guess, Vlad.
And I recognize it's a 4-hour hike, and we said turn around, so it's 4 hours either way, but whatever. It's a 4-hour trail, 8-hour hike, back and forth. You can turn back anytime you want to. No one's going to judge you but you. If you achieved it, you achieved it. If you didn't achieve it, you didn't achieve it. No one's going to clap. No one's going to say you're weak. No one's going to give you any reaction except for yourself. You're not going to post about it on Instagram. Maybe you will, but you shouldn't. It's really important for you to test yourself. If you want to find out who you are, you have to test yourself. And whether you succeed or you fail, you're the only one that knows. And so if you decide to push through and you say, you know what, I'm not going to give up.
Oh, man. What the fuck does this have to do with a woman being lonely? We're on it for a minute, bro.
I'm going to keep going. No matter what. And you get to the top of the mountain, no one's there. You don't even feel elated. You feel like, oh, thank God it's over. Now I have to go back down. No one's clapping for you. No one's saying, oh, you're such an amazing human being. Look, triumph of the human spirit, like you walked for 4 hours at a mild incline, like great job. That's what you're going to be telling yourself. This is no achievement, because that's the toxic part of you. That's the part of you that's created when you can't connect with another human being. And you do that enough times and you'll start to realize, you know what? That actually isn't true. I did do it, and I can be proud of this. I gotta start somewhere. Even if I can't be proud of it. If you can't be proud of it, no big deal. You did it. You put your mind to it and you did it. So find out who you are. And that happens first and foremost with yourself. Second thing, fourth thing, I don't know, lost track of numbering, is I think that reach out to someone else in an authentic way, which is kind of what this person did. Right? So no one is going to appreciate you for who you are unless you actually show them. And this is where things get really tricky. Because if you really show them who you are, you open the door to rejection. And especially if you're like in this case, an attractive woman who's lonely, that's gonna it's so devastating, right? Because if I pretend to be okay, and I'm attractive, everyone thinks my life is great. But then if I turn to them and I say, hey, by the way, I'm actually really struggling, really lonely, and I have difficulty connecting with other human beings. What's so terrifying about that is if they turn to you and say, what on earth are you talking about? You're so attractive, you shouldn't have problems. And so in that moment, you're opening the door for them to reject you. The challenge...
I mean, so far he hasn't said anything objectionable, really. I mean, yeah, you are opening yourself up for rejection. It's not really something you can kind of third party wave away as something that isn't really yourself, sure.
Of being connected with another human being is, in order to be accepted by someone, the door must be open for them to reject you as well.
Of course.
And we're so afraid of that rejection that we can never risk it. And therefore, we can never give someone the chance to accept us. And so we stay stuck. I think the good news is that a lot of that is in our head, right? I'm not saying that mean people don't exist out there, right? So this person had an experience with a boyfriend who was basically very shallow, but people in our community exist too, where this person shared this and there were people who were there willing to listen and be compassionate and stuff like that. And like I've said it 1,000 times, I'm going to say it 1,000 more times. Healthy Gamer is more than Dr.k. Who helped this person connect with other human beings? It wasn't.
What do you mean weird negative takes? What are the weird negative takes?
Dr.k, the work has been done. It's y'all. Right? This person is overwhelmed by the responses and support, and they don't have time to reply to all of the people who are responding. That's y'all. That ain't me. So be a little bit careful about who you open up to, by all means. But you've got to give people a chance to reject you if you want to be accepted. So a couple of things just to kind of recap. So someone posted about being an attractive woman who's lonely. And for a slice of humanity, a slice of the internet, that does not compute. Because being attractive is the antidote to loneliness, right? If you're attractive, especially a woman, then you should be able to make friends very easily. You can get laid anytime you want to. Oh my God. Sounds so amazing. The truth of the matter is that any advantage is never a substitute for happiness and will protect you 100% from suffering. Do advantages give us advantages? Yeah. Do they help out some? Absolutely. Are some of them pretty big? Absolutely. And yet they're not a substitute for connection, right? Attractiveness is not a substitute for connection. And in fact, sometimes this is what people who really struggle is that sometimes attractive people are more lonely. And when I say more, I'm creating a comparison. So let's step away from that statement actually. Or incredibly lonely. Let's use that. So why are they incredibly lonely? Because anytime someone interacts with them, they're not interacting with a person, they're interacting with the shell of a person. They're not interacting with you, they're interacting with your appearance. And the more that people interact with your appearance and all they see is the appearance instead of the person, the more lonely the person becomes. The real challenge here is that if you share that with people, they're going to be upset. Because there are people out there who are hurt and lonely themselves and don't have that advantage. And so they're going to turn to you and say, how dare you complain? Because I'm in the same situation, except I'm not even attractive. And in that moment, they invalidate your experience. Why do they do that? Because that is what was done to them. Because when they reached out for help, when they said, I'm struggling, I can't even have sex. I've never had sex and I'm going to die a virgin. And men can say this, women can say this, non-binary people can say this. Maybe asexual people say this. I don't really know. Right? Because sometimes they're not interested in it, which is totally fine. Anyone can say this. But when people said this, remember, once again, the majority of people may say, wow, that must be hard for you. But all it takes is a couple of people to say, wow, it's all in your head. If you just did this, you could engage in a sexual relationship. So it can actually be really invalid. It can be hard.
I mean, I agree with him that this is how the approach works, but isn't he kind of creating a comparison there? He's trying to say that the men that say to this woman, well, you got it easy, all you have to do is like, this should be a solve to your loneliness, you can get whatever you want. He's saying that the men underwent a process that was similar. I'm saying men because by and large, there's probably going to be massively disproportionately men who say this. Went through a similar process themselves. So when the men expressed the exact same thing as a woman, they didn't get sympathy. They got people saying like, hey, you shouldn't be having problems unless you just fucking clean up your room or whatever the hell. Just like groom yourself or whatever. Isn't he expressing a difference there, a comparison in that statement himself?
Right? Because now you've tried to open the door and you've tried to connect with another person. What has someone else done? Slammed it in your face. So what do you do about this? The first is be a little bit careful about what the dirty tricks you'll use to satisfy your loneliness. And I don't just mean sexual, I mean generalizing it for a reason, right? So there are certain things that we'll do to get people to help us feel less lonely, but in an inauthentic way, sneaky way. Sometimes we'll offer sex. Sometimes we'll offer money, right? Oh, I'll pay for all my friends. I'll pay so they come.
They come.
Right? I'm going to have a birthday party and I'm going to pay for all the food. I'm going to take everyone out to dinner. That way people will show up. We'll use some of our advantages to make us feel less lonely. But in those moments, what we're actually doing is reinforcing our loneliness. Because it's not an authentic connection. We're buying it, paying a particular price. So you've got to be super careful about that cycle, especially because sometimes as you become lonely, there's only one thing that works, right? Which is at times, for women or men, like offering your physical form, offering your body, or offering money. And then that's the only way that we know to find connection. But the more that we connect with people that way, it like reinforces the problem because they're not connecting with me. They're not showing up at my birthday party because they like me. They're showing up at my birthday party for the free food. But that's the only way that I can get them to come, and I don't want to be alone on my birthday because that hurts too much.
Because I need them to come.
So be aware of that cycle. And the next thing is get in touch with yourself. Find out who you are. You're saying that you have trouble connecting with other people. Sometimes the hardest reason to connect with other people is because we're not sure who we are. We don't know what there is to connect to. We don't know, am I good on the inside or am I bad on the inside? Am I someone who's worth being friends with one day? And if you don't have that confidence in yourself, it's so hard to connect with people because there's a lot of uncertainty. What if I'm not actually worth connecting with? So how do you find that? You spend time with yourself. You start to realize.
See, the problem that he's describing, I'm at the next step of it. I think I'm a worthy person to be friends with and whatever. The problem is communicating that to other people in a way that they find palatable. That is the difficult part, unless you play video games, right? I'm at the next step, the next rung in that ladder, right? I was a couple steps down. Now I'm at the step where it's like, I have been for a pretty long time. I think I'm somebody who can be a very trustworthy, loyal, reliable friend or a partner or whatever. I just can't find anybody that would get that read from me. They don't read me as that. They think I'm like too lame or boring. Right? And it becomes difficult to communicate like, oh, well, here's my hobbies. Here's why they're cool or interesting, or they could be cool or interesting. But to most people, they're just not going to be cool or interesting. But I find them to be cool and interesting. I like doing them. I think they're cool and interesting.
And this is what it looks like after, healthy work. That I am who I am. Not everyone is going to like it. and that's okay. My value as a human being is not determined by getting this particular person to like me and this particular person to hang out with me. But oftentimes when we struggle with our own identity, that's what it turns into. And so,
isn't that just you saying you don't know why someone would want to be friends with you and look past the video games? No. I think somebody could want to be friends with me for various reasons, not just video games or whatever, but maybe they enjoy talking to me, hanging out with me, talking about politics or philosophy. Yeah. I think probably the most common way that people are going to become friends with me is by sharing a hobby. And a lot of the hobbies that I have are ones that I would say are not super common, but yeah. He does believe in a soul, so I think that's ultimately what he's getting down to. He's getting to when describing the problems with people's loneliness and life satisfaction. Okay. Are you saying to equate how you view yourself to how others value? Because I don't think anyone needs to like you for your hobbies. No, I'm just trying to. What I was trying to say is, Dr. K was talking about how you need to find yourself to be personally somebody that is a good person to be like in a relationship or friends with before you can like get somebody to be friends with you or be in a relationship with you. I think that's a very important note there to have, for sure. I'm just was saying that I was one step onto the next rung of that ladder, where I do believe I'm somebody who is good to be in a relationship or friends with. The problem is, it's not like it's impossible for me to communicate that to other people. I lack the social prowess to be able to communicate that to another person. That's just it. Tarkov, indeed. It's the exact thing that I'm going to start doing the moment I end the stream.
this person's opinion means the world to us. And if this person...
How much effort have you made to explore friendships? I mean, I have good friendships with the people that I have friendships with. But are you talking about exploring new friendships? Like trying to get new people to be friends with me?
agrees to go on a date with me, it means I'm a good human being. And if this person doesn't agree to go on a date with me...
You focused too much on being a good person, didn't work on your approach? I think that was my problem. I don't think I did like a super great job at being a good person. There's definitely things I can improve on, but I think overall I am a good person. Qualities wise, I just I didn't focus on how to get people to like me. I just assumed that if I was a nice person, people would like me. And that's not the case. People like you if you convince them that you're a nice person, or if you convince them that you're a confident person. They don't like you if you are a nice person. You need to communicate that to another person. And that was my problem. I just assumed that people would like get to know me enough to know that about me, but that's not usually how it goes. Yeah. Do you only play on PC? Yeah, I don't have any other... Well, actually, I did have a PS4 or whatever. My brother played God of War on it, but it's old and it sucks. Why no Tarkov streams? I play with people who say slurs. I play with people who say a lot of heinous stuff.
Means I'm a bad human being. The next thing that you've got to do to connect is open the door for rejection. Because in order for someone to truly accept you, which is what connectedness feels like, right? To really connect with someone.
Yeah, and I want to point out what Crazy Tactics is saying, which makes sense because people have to protect themselves and can't read minds. Exactly. I'm not saying it's unreasonable for people to not interpret my intentions and not read the way that I'm talking, walking, or acting. I don't think that's unreasonable. I think it is better if they do that. And they can't read minds or intentions, so I may be a good intentioned person, but if I'm not communicating that with my body language, with the words that I'm saying, then, you know, people have every right to assume that I'm just weird and I'm whatever. I don't want it to the interpretation of my words to be like people are unjustly doing things. However, I do believe people are quick to jump to conclusions, primarily based on physical appearance, not even like social shit. Sometimes social shit. I've seen a lot of people with like tics and stuff, like social tics, like get rejected because they just come off as weird. That's a little bit fringe. Or like the grammar thing, like because somebody doesn't have like perfect grammar, people write them off. I think we are quick to jump to conclusions, but I think on this one, the problem I am personally having, I think it is a me problem and nobody else's problem. I think other people have the problem, but it's a me thing to fix. I need to fix it, and other people who have the problem need to fix it themselves. Not like the world needs to bend to our weirdness. You stream on YouTube now, you can get away with it? That's actually true, huh? Would I get banned on Twitch for that? I know I'd get in a lot of debates over that. I don't think it's worth the heat, man. I don't think it's worth the heat. How much heat I would get in, like, Ahrelevant plays with, like, transphobic, homophobic, fucking racist. Dude, I don't think I want that heat. Do I, though? I don't know, man. I kind of want that smoke. Actually, maybe I will. I don't know. I'm kind of liking that idea. Anyway, aren't you in a relationship? Have you not proven those qualities in your friendships together? No. I'm not in a relationship. Are you talking about making friends or a relationship in persons or online? In person. Also, I consider there to be significant overlap in making friends and getting relationships. Holy shit, just imagine debating somebody while doing a high-stakes Tarkov run. Why not? That's literally money in your pocket. Yeah, I don't know. Mirror Link Osu, thank you for the tier 2 membership. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for the support. Do you have to use your mic? What do you mean? You don't have a meme board? Where can I link this funny 9-second meme? Do we not have a meme board? We literally have a memes board in Discord. What are you talking about?
Is to have someone see you and say, hey, I recognize you're flawed. Hey, I recognize you're a complex human being, and I like you anyway.
Like, play without a mic, or do we can't hear the other players? Yeah, but you lose the communication of it, you know? I swear Relly had a girlfriend like a month ago. I did. Well, we broke up more than a month ago, but I said I did because I just didn't feel like telling stream.
Because when you're attractive, I like you despite who you are. I appreciate the attractiveness outweighs the bad stuff. And if we really want to connect with people, that needs to change. You can't have people accepting you because you're attractive despite the bad stuff. You need actually people to accept you kind of no matter what. Right? You want people to accept you in spite of your flaws and not for any other particular reason. For them to say, it's okay that you have your flaws, that your flaws are over here, your advantage is over here. It's not because one outweighs the other. It's because both of them are you and I accept you whole package. It's not about a balancing or like hitting a certain threshold.
Are you talking about this video? School is child abuse, conservative actress. Is this one the one you're talking about, Arcturus? Oh, no. Sorry, TBG.
The last thing to consider in terms of being seen is you can absolutely work with a therapist, especially if you've got problems with like social anxiety or things like that. So I'd recommend a clinical evaluation if you haven't gotten one to see if really therapy is appropriate for you. And if it isn't appropriate for you, or I mean, it can still be appropriate even if you're not clinically ill, and you find a good therapist, that can be very, very helpful. But part of what we tend to see actually in coaching is that women who are in this situation do really, really well in coaching. People have trouble connecting, and we have kind of data behind that. So not published or anything like that, but we do a lot of internal data to try to figure out, okay, who can we actually help? And it turns out that we have good outcomes around women who struggle with discovering who they are and facing judgment from the world. Even in career coaching, we sort of see that a fair amount, where like women are struggling to figure out like, okay, how do I represent myself well in the workplace? How do I deal with toxicity in the workplace? Things like that. That's a great question. Lenise is asking, when people come to us and share experiences like that on the internet or IRL, how do we know when it's just venting and when they need actual advice? It's a great question, and my answer is going to be a little bit tongue-in-cheek. So oftentimes, they will tell you, I'm not posting this for advice or pity. And if they don't tell you, you can ask. Right? I know it sounds like a simple answer, but like that's honestly like, I mean, even when people come into my office, I'll just ask, like, ask them. You're sharing all this stuff with me. What do you, does it feel good to get it off of your chest? And is that really what you're looking for? Or, do you want to like do a little bit more back and forth? Are you looking for guidance or are you looking for support? That's usually, those are the two words that I'll use.
Okay. That lasted a little bit longer than I thought it would.
Yeah.
Hey, okay, 2 questions. I'm watching your little deplatforming vid, but I'm only 17 and a half minutes through, so if you get through to this in another part, you can always tell me to fuck off, right?
Okay.
You're kind of making a point right now. So, you know one of the like principal fears of sanctioning the fuck out of Russia and cutting them out of SWIFT completely and everything? Like, there is this fear that like, what if Russia endures all of those sanctions? And they actually do become somewhat of an autarky, or they've got like their little Eurasian empire that they can draw from. They've got China, they've got the other countries around them, and they're actually like okay, like they survive. It sucks a little, but they survive without any access to European or American markets. You run into this weird issue where if Russia acts improperly in the future, you have like no leverage, right? You like, besides like military intervention now, right?
Yeah.
I think this has been, or I consider it to be, and I think most people consider it to be kind of one of the fears of like, if you crack down really harshly on a country, sanction, at some point you like, it's like a child that's been punished too much. You're like, you can't do anything more to them at that point besides like kill them or something, right? One thing that I kind of worried about, it hasn't happened yet, but something that would be really worrying.
This actually seems like a cool combo. I'll probably watch this tomorrow. Hold up. Bookmark. We will watch later. Okay. I gotta go. I gotta go gym. We go gym. I gotta go gym. So, yeah. You guys have a good rest of your day. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll cover these 2 things on YouTube when we get over to the YouTube side of it. And yeah. See you guys later, yeah? All right. Bye.